streets down from Rodeo? It's like Rodeo.
Which one is it?
I always forget. There's Rodeo.
It's a couple blocks from Rodeo.
You know what I'm talking, but it's just like Rodeo, Barria.
It's parallel.
Yeah, it's parallel.
We see it all the time, and I know the name. I can't even think of it.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out on an hour and a half back. All right, we got Darren Prince back in again. Thank you for coming back. Aiming High, best-selling book. We have a new book out, which we'll get to, and name of it and everything else. And 14 years sober and clean. Thank you again for coming back, and really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I told you, I'm a man of my word.
You are, and you actually said just the right about this time, too.
Yeah.
So tell me about this Baja ear plan thing that we were talking about before we came on, because that's really interesting, how they did it and so on.
So I lost my hearing at about 25 years old. Doctors don't know if it was a mix of excessive opiate use or steroids, just obviously abusing myself. And for 27 years of my life, it's affected me. It got to the point where I think it was more the people around me got more agitated by the fact that I didn't have to sit with my right ear facing them, or I'd say what 2, 3, 4, or 5 times because I legitimately wasn't hearing them. I bought multiple hearing aids over the years. They were like quick fixes, like almost like a Band-Aid. And Nikki C., who's one of my business partners back in Beverly Hills, Lou Ferrigno was at his house one day. And Lou got this cochlear Baja. And I was like, Nick, I've tried everything. It's not going to work. He was born deaf. The cochlear implant, I've looked into it before. You have to be born deaf. He goes, no, he goes, bro, because this one's different. So I looked up a doctor in Beverly Hills, got checked out in his office. He gave me like this little device to put in my mouth and was talking through a transmitter. I heard everything on the left side. He goes, you'd be perfectly qualified. This is how it gets done. You have to go in the hospital. A couple-hour procedure. We basically drill into the ear bone, and we put the transmitter in there. And then after it heals for about 3 months, you'll put this little device on. And it's got an app where it's almost like your new earbud, and you can control the volume because it'll never be perfect, but I can guarantee at least a 50% improvement. And, my sobriety was challenged. I was telling you before, but I think the key is when you go into something like that, to be honest and to understand there's a huge difference between drug use and drug abuse, because we could justify bullshit
all day long
to ourselves. The doctor said it's okay. I'm in pain. I don't feel good. And
in the back of your head,
and just like
it's
that,
like a free card, right? It's
yeah,
like a get out of jail free card in Monopoly.
100%. and we could lie to everybody else, but we can't lie to ourselves. And the good thing about recovery is we get it conscious. The bad thing is we get a conscience. And so I had to, stay close to my network of spiritual brothers and sisters, and my girlfriend, my girls that work for me, and everyone in the office. The doctor gave me Tylenol with codeine for a couple of days because I just told him I can't take Percocets or Oxys or Vicodins, and it really didn't do anything outside of, if they get you constipated, they mess up your stomach. And so I asked him about, what about THC? Because, you can get a low-degree vape. And try that. He goes, I think that'll help. And trust me, I had pus, oozing, infection, constant infections. I had it going twice a week to get it drained. It was real pain. And as I told you earlier, I'm in touch with my sponsor, Steve Delaval, my biggest spiritual big brother. And after 3-4 days, I started waking up, and I'm like, the pain isn't that bad. I think I might be okay. And Tylenol, Advil, but that brain. As it says, that horse is out of the barn, man. And I know, my foundation and staying close in the Zoom meetings or whatever I need to do, working with others in recovery. I know that when it comes out, all hell's coming with them. And there's probably that 5th day. And, I probably went a day or 2 more than I should have. I probably could have sucked up the pain and the oozing and the infection, but it was on a Saturday morning, and I took a little puff and, dabbed it, cleaned the gauze, everything that was going on there, and it's almost like I had another moment of clarity, because I'm sitting there lying in bed feeling sorry for myself. Man, this sucks. I can't believe how long it's going to take to heal. I might have to be taking this vape for another week or 2, all the justified bullshit. And then I start flashing back into like the last 14, 15 years of my life, losing my dad and how I got through all that. And, everybody that works for me in California, the clients, how great the business is, how many people I've been helping with this gift of recovery. My girlfriend, Nicolette, the good people in my life that always want the best for me and support me and cheer for me. And it was almost like I heard a voice, yeah, you dumb fuck. It's because you're sober.
Yeah.
And it was almost like that moment on July 2nd, 2008. It was like I rose out of bed. I had the vape in the bathroom. I got it. Right across the hallway from me is a trash chute. And down the chute it went. And it was just incredible to have that, because I tell that story because if you don't have a foundation, if you don't have a connection when we go through these challenges in life, you ain't going to win.
You're done for.
You ain't going to win.
Well, think how many people we know that have been going 30, 40 years sober. And then you're like, 40 years he went sober. What happened?
Yep.
And in my experience, people that I know, 9 times out of 10 is from a dental procedure, some type of surgery.
Yep.
And like you said, the doctor said it's okay. I can take it. And then boom.
You're off to the races. And like I said, I got into that place of justification. It's okay. I spoke to Brandon Novak, my spiritual brother from Jackass. I was in touch with a lot of people. And you just have to be. Like I said, we can lie to the whole world, but we can't lie to ourselves. And when you truly live and breathe the recovery, I'm sitting here, watching like talk shows and doing the last minute edits on this book, this new book, and I'm literally in a state of like, I'm high, from this vape, and I'm trying to do work. And look, we all know how we get. We're in that mindset. Everything's amazing. You're on top of the world. And to have that foundation where I was able to finally catch myself, probably a little bit late, it was incredible.
Well, even Nicolette, didn't she tell you to get off your ass? She
That's
told
it.
you were sitting around.
That's
you even
it.
texted me and you said, my girl told me to get off my ass. I'm sitting around too much.
Yeah, it's it was just amazing to have that, because I could have gone another week or two.
But maybe you needed that, because you're right at the 14-year mark clean. Maybe you needed that wake-up call. Like, look, buddy, you're not invincible.
And I never thought I did. As the big book says, self-confidence and recovery is a liability. But Steve Delaval, my sponsor, said from day one, he goes, as you put time together, I'm just going to tell you right now, years 10 to 15 are the most dangerous. Years 10 to 15 for people with time are the number one percentage of relapsers. And I said, why is that? He goes, complacency. People forget the beautiful things the fellowship gave them, keeping them to come back to the fellowship. I've been struggling with in-person meetings like a lot of people. I love Zoom, the convenience of sitting at home.
It's just convenient, right?
I'm just trying to get back into them at home. Every time I go to an in-person one, I love it. It's like I leave just freaking, everything in my pores. I'm on top of the world. And it's like, well, why don't I do it the next day and the next day? Because I knew what gave me this foundation. But I think a lot of people were challenged. Not those that came into recovery through Zoom, but I think a lot of people that had time. You got kind of comfortable with sitting in your office, in your bedroom, on the couch, putting on the iPhone, putting on a tripod, and having that meeting. And I think that's also why I probably let my guard down a little bit, because I lost that connection. Where we talk about the opposite of addiction is connection. And for me, I live and breathe recovery. I need to be physically in front of somebody.
That's
you and
what
I
I was gonna
couldn't
say.
do this interview through Zoom. Ain't going to mean anything.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Because you could sit there and you could put on a straight face all you want. And for something like this, it's just terrible.
Yep.
There's no in person. There's no I could see you, you could see me.
Exactly.
And in the recovery, your sponsor probably wants to see your ass.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Not on a Zoom.
Yep.
It's not like you can't get there.
Yep.
So
Yep.
But at least you had the self-discipline to know, hey, I need to call him.
I like I said, I'm so accountable on my behavior and my actions that I know when I'm off. And I think a lot of time, anything in my life, when I'm off emotionally in business, my personal life, family stuff, whatever it might be that's going on, it's because I'm not connected. It's because I'm not dialed into the fellowship. Because when I'm dialed into the fellowship, and I know, the 12-step support group is in my heart and my soul. I'm bulletproof. I know it, but it's just still like I said I could have a great 3-4 days of it. And then I'm just like everybody else. I forgot what gave me this beautiful life. And, you know, I'm human. I'm too focused on helping get other people sober, or business, or, you know, drama with my family or my friends, when at the end of the day, it's a selfish program because we want to be selfless. And if you don't put yourself first, just like they say with the oxygen mask on the plane, you know, you're not good to anybody.
You're not?
Mm-hmm.
What's funny and amazing is you've had all this success, from the cards to the autographs to Prince marketing to now the speaking to the books. And with all the success and the brilliance you have in business, you also got dealt a shitty hand of cards. You know, the hearing at 25.
Yep.
I mean, at 25, and you're building an empire.
Yep.
You know, and then drug use within that, and that was, we already know that was a blast to go through for years and years and years.
Yep.
And you still made it.
Nice.
This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com, and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. This episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels have dropped substantially since the 1980s, at about an average of 1% per year. Think about how old your father was when he was born. For example, if he was 30, your testosterone levels could be 30% lower than his. Low testosterone levels can have all type of health effects on men. It can affect your mood, sex drive, memory, muscle mass loss, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but it can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next-day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS Media and get 25% off your test using the code MSCS Media. The link is in the description at the top.
Still made it. I mean, look, a lot of it, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. You know, I think a lot of it was self-inflicted. You know, I mean, I was somebody that was very cross-addicted. As I talk about in the book, it wasn't just, you know, drugs, alcohol, gambling, the woman thing, the overspending, the validation addiction, steroids. I mean, it was just every which way possible that could affect me from the neck up to, you know, to validate, you know, who I really wanted to be.
Right.
You know?
And if somebody missed the last one, we'll just briefly go through it. Can you pull up Prince's marketing website and the services? I didn't realize how much services you do. Do you guys focus on that a lot?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, a lot. I mean,
everybody knows you got every celebrity in the freaking planet.
Larry just did something today with my guy Eric in Indiana. We got a big event with Hulk on next Wednesday in Tampa, a mastermind event. We got a busy weekend with Chevy Chase and Jerry West and Charlie Sheen. I spoke to Charlie today. Yeah, we're blessed. It's nonstop. I think I told you last time I was here, the biggest problem is our clients saying yes to deals.
Yeah.
You know, people look at the rush like, oh my God, no, it's not as smooth sailing as you think.
Right.
We have our struggles too as a business owner when you're dealing with the wealthiest of the wealthiest and we're only paid off of deals they say yes on. Very frustrating. And you can't ever make it about us. You really have to respect their decision.
Otherwise, they're gone.
And they say no. Guess what? We're shit
no.
out of luck. Nothing we can do. You got to move on to the next deal. Hopefully they say yes.
I can only imagine that people see, oh, I can get Pete Rose. Let me click. Yeah. Well, do you understand that maybe Pete Rose was a little bit older, but he's not coming for a plane ticket.
No, he's not. He's not doing something.
And he's going to check you out too.
Yeah.
Right. Go to services.
Yep.
So, Darren, take me through a little bit of what you guys do with the services, because we didn't touch on it much last time.
So, we do everything from intellectual property licensing deals, book deals, television, national commercials, product endorsements, keynote speeches. We just started working with David Goggins, who's
very cool guy.
#1 in the world right now. We booked him with my guy Marcus Barney. They had a Circle of CEO conference in Atlanta about a week and a half ago, and that's a entrepreneurial type of program. These mastermind conferences. My boy Dan Fleischman is huge with them. They grow, build, scale, and teach you how to eventually sell your company. And it's a room of typically a few hundred or a few thousand serial entrepreneurs looking to get motivated by some sort of global iconic celebrity, or somebody that's gone through their own hell and come out of the other side. We have one next Tuesday in San Diego that we booked for my guy Roland Frazier with Lisa Vanderpump.
Oh, wow.
Who's obviously one of the most successful housewives.
Yeah.
And
we were just talking about it.
so it's nice that these conferences were never around when I started in the business 25, 26, 27 years ago, and that these young, successful, and middle-aged entrepreneurs have the ability to get a membership, network amongst each other for 2-3 days. And I guess the whole formula is when you put a group of successful people in a room of successful people, more business gets done.
Reminds me kind of like Dan Pena.
Yeah.
He'll beat you down to death, and you think he's being a jerk, but he's not.
No.
He's just getting all of it out of you so that he can rebuild you.
Exactly.
And he does. He calls. My friend went there.
Yep.
And he calls every day. What are you doing? What'd you do?
Yep.
And that's why they call him the billionaire. I think he's a trillionaire man now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at 14, you start with the cards, right?
Yeah.
And you go to your dad and you tell your dad you need insurance. And your dad goes, insurance for what? And you go cards.
Yeah.
And I thought this was so funny that at that age, you go, I need 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And he's not talking about dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your dad gives you a G.
Yeah.
Now how at 14 are you talking 8, 9?
Yeah.
And talking in hundreds is an 8, 9.
I think I had the hustle in me before I started the business. If he was alive, he would tell you, he would repeat the exact same story 100 times. It would never change. I was like 8 or 9, and he's like, okay, I'll call homeowners in the morning. I'll get you, $1,000 in insurance so you have the peace of mind in case anything happened. I'm literally in my pajamas at 14, sitting on the rug in front of the old white and black couch that they used to have. I remember like yesterday, and I'm tugging on his sweatpants, and I look up and go, Daddy, no, 8 or 9,000. And I was like, how the heck do you have 8 or 9,000 dollars with the baseball cards? I'm like, well, my friends always wanted the newer players. They wanted the Don Mattingly, the Wade Boggs, the Darryl Strawberry, the Dwight Gooden, the Roger Clemens. And I decided I wanted these old stinky looking cards that had like Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle, because they were worth a lot more money.
And you had the screw down case, I bet, right?
Back then, there was no such thing as grading. They were all in the heavy screw down containers.
Yep. And Beckett was everything, right?
Well, it was Current Card Price Guide before Beckett. There was a company called CCP, and it was a newspaper that was like the Wall Street Journal, and it was sent, not a newspaper, it was like a newspaper type of magazine, and it would come once a week, and I would get it like expressed to me, because I was able to follow the trends of what cards were going up and what cards were going down. And then Beckett came out about a year later. And
I used to love Beckett.
Every Beckett. I was trying to get that Fleer Jordan card. I finally did get it, but man, I must have had went to because I didn't know if they were fake. You had to remember at the period of time the Fleer one, where it was jumping, and the upper deck one,
the rookie.
Well, now if you have like a card, right? Do you send it out to be graded? How does that work?
Yeah, PSA. We do a lot with PSA. I got back in as a collector about 2.5 years ago and an investor. And, typically PSA is like the holy grail of authenticating cards and grading it. Then you have Beckett.
PSA's been around forever.
Yeah.
And they grade all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. That just everything and anything. It could be, game-worn jersey or any sort of autograph.
And then, like, when you send it out, right? So if I send out an autograph, or not even an autograph, a card maybe to be graded, how do you know, like, I guess what I'm trying to get
How do you know it's yours that you're getting back?
Correct.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, you upgrade it and you upload it into their system and you submit it. I mean, They're a huge organization. There's nothing going on there.
I would just be afraid to get lost in the mail or something.
That's what you would worry about, not them, because they're not worried about your measly whatever.
The biggest problem is the turnaround time. They're so backlogged over 1 million cards because the market exploded. That I'm glad I'm not in that business full time anymore, because your cash flow gets tied up. You're literally sitting on tens or hundreds of thousands of inventory, and you're at their mercy. And a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, was a blessing that they were holding it, because everything was going through the roof. Now, the longer they hold it, it's depreciating by the time you get it back.
It's the complete opposite the way we grew up.
Complete opposite with the way the economy is.
Because I would go to my dad and be like, hey, I looked in Beckett, it just went up 200. And he's like, you moron, just wait. He was Italian, so he cursed a lot. But no, you wait. Because that's how it was back. That was fun, though,
Can you get it, like, okay, say you go to a game, right? Your kid has a ball, and he gets a ball autographed by Joe Namath or whoever autographs a ball. Can you send that ball then? How does that work?
Yeah, you could send it. Basically called like exemplars. So what their forensic experts have are their own exemplars in a library to study multiple variations of signatures.
That's interesting.
They're all forensic document experts, and they match it up with different exemplars. Like Joe Namath might have an on-the-run signature through the airport. He could have something when he's at a restaurant. He's got something at a private signing where he's taking his time.
That's interesting.
Imagine this. You're a forensic scientist or whatever. You're dealing with all these dead bodies, and all of a sudden, you could do cards.
Yeah.
You could look at, and do forensics on the cards.
But that's interesting because they do.
I'm done with the morgue.
I do always wonder that, because I know like certain guys have like their cliche, however they do it. But yeah, you're saying you get them at the airport and they're just like, okay, kid, here you go, or that. It might be a little different.
I see it with my guys all the time and my girls that I represent. I mean, there's always multiple variations where, you can literally take Chevy Chase at a private signing. You can get him when he's walking into a restaurant, and then you can get him when he's sitting on an airplane, and it's kind of like and they all could look variously different, but they're legitimately signed by him.
That's interesting.
And then by 16, you had made $200,000, right?
When I was 1986, I've reported about 200,000.
Wow. 200,000 at 16.
That's what's up.
Now, how does one do that? How do you do that? Because you have $1,000. So how does Darren Prince take that in 2 years? Not even the age. Even if you were 38.
Yeah.
How do you go from in 2 years to $200,000 like that? How do you meet the connections? How do you do it? What was it that sticks out to you that you separated?
So the first month when I was doing card show after card show, and I made $1,000 on that first Sunday. Then I made a couple grand, and my dad saw me make about $10,000 that month. My uncle Joe, may he rest in peace, he passed when I was probably 21. He was a stockbroker, and he was my dad's best friend. And he came over one day to the house on Deoline and Livingston, and we're in the driveway, and he's like, "Your dad and I have an idea." Because it seems like you're able to like buy things, flip it, and make a bunch of money. He goes, "Do you know what an investor is?" And I was like, "No, not really." He goes, "I manage a lot of people's money, and they're always looking for things that are like known as alternative investments. Short-term loan, give them a little bit of a return." Probably back then, looking back at it, was a little bit of usury because you're only allowed to pay a certain amount. But it was basically 4 guys that told my dad and my uncle they would give me $5,000 a piece. And they just want to know what I would pay them back within 60 days. So I go to my dad. I said, I can probably give him $5,000. My dad's like, think you could turn the money a couple times and double your money? I'm like, heck yeah. And so now I'm a freaking 14-year-old kid going to the shows and, buying and flipping deals. I got wads of cash in my pocket, and they were paid back within 3 weeks because I'm like, I didn't want it over my head that I owed them money. Probably made another 10, 12,000 on top of it, and that was it. There was some money that my dad lent me from my bar mitzvah account to buy a collection that he said my mom would kill us if I didn't pay it back. I paid that back.
I bet you did because she probably would have.
So but I in a way, like I was blessed to have them at that time. I never looked at it as, hey, did I get help? Did I, it was self-made, whatever. I mean, I still thought as myself as a visionary because I still had the collection I had that was able to make me go out and even scale that business and take that cash flow.
Darren, you did it yourself. You got 8-9 at 14, not grand. You got 800 or 900, and then you took it the rest of the way. And the investors came when they saw after what you could do.
That's
what you did with the grand.
Yep.
What was your biggest card you had first that you remember you loved? Autograph?
So I was 14 years old. Hopefully he's not listening. It was this guy Mike Schwartz that I went to high school with, and I got my first big piece done in the local newspaper for my company, Baseball Card City, before it was Prince of Cards, and everybody was starting to talk about me now in high school, like the dumb, slow kid that wasn't going to go anywhere, started getting this recognition for selling these stupid baseball cards. He pulls me aside in the hallway because, look, my grandfather passed away. We've got these old cards. We think they're from like the 1910s. If you have any
go
interest.
up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so now I already knew that the Honus Wagner card was from that same series, the 1909, 1910, 1911, T205, T206. Series, and they were called cigarette cards. They could be tobacco packs, and the most famous card of all time is the Honus Wagner. There was only about 40 got in existence because he was an anti-smoker and didn't want kids buying his card. So this was the same series, and he comes over with his dad. I remember the number like yesterday. We literally counted them up. There was 1,800 cards, and I needed $9,000 to buy the collection, $5 a piece. And that's when my dad had to lend me $4,000 because I had 5. I didn't have the rest. And that's literally launched the company. I was selling these cards for $25 to $50 a piece for the next year, and then I pulled out. I had a bunch of Ty Cobbs that were in there, and some super rare ones that were going for $1,000. I mean, that collection probably during the course of 2 years made me about $100,000.
Man, in my day, when somebody had a Ty Cobbs, there would be a line to look at it through a glass case.
Yeah.
Really? It was crazy back then, you know?
Yep.
Then you go into the autographs.
Yeah.
At 20? Around
20 was the autograph signings.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now you build up so big with the cards, you get into the autographs. Now, who was your first big autograph that you had gotten?
That I collected or signing that I did?
That you had signed for you, that you sold or collected. The first big one that put you on the map.
It probably was the first guy I dealt with, probably Muhammad Ali.
That's a good first one.
And I knew through a mutual friend, his agent that I met, and then I think it was around 91 or 92, I contacted Harlan Warner, and I said, hey, I kind of just got out of the card business. I'd love to do a signing with him. Can he tell me how it works? And he was super cool. He's one of my closest friends to this day and mentor. He opened up a million doors for me and held my hand through it. And I think we paid Ali maybe $20,000 for 500 autographs. It was $40 a piece. That was an amazing day with him up in Boston in a private hotel suite. Brought 3 or 4 of my buddies with me. And within 2 months, we sold out of everything. And during that era, we did more signings with Ali than anybody. And Harlan was the one that called me up one day and said, "You need to get with Joe Frazier, because I don't think you realize, these two don't speak. And if you could develop a relationship with Joe being on the East Coast and him in Philly, and me already working with the Alis for 10 years, I think there's something really special someday we could do with these two guys."
Well, and that did happen, didn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing, man. So now for people watching that are building a business, what are some things that you did? Because then in 95, you started Prince Marketing Group, right?
Yeah.
So what are some things that you did from, when you take you at 16, you make that $200,000, and then take you in 1995, obviously you're more mature.
Yeah.
But what did you learn throughout that time period? Maybe failures, things you did wrong, even though you made it to Muhammad Ali. I mean, I don't know what I could say you did wrong, but let's just pretend that there were some things you thought you could have done better.
Yeah.
Or the things that you've done so right that got you to that point. Because to even get a reply from Muhammad Ali, you're selling cards, your dad knows people, but you're talking about Muhammad Ali here, buddy, So what are some things that I think anybody could apply to any business that you had done that you were able to network so well with these celebrities and they took a liking to you?
I think that's kind of what the new book Mission Matters is about. They interviewed about 12 entrepreneurs, and I wrote a couple chapters on relationship building. I mean, that's really all it was. And I made plenty of mistakes. Just so anybody listening, if you read Amy High, I was on the verge of bankruptcy in the mid-1990s. I made a huge mistake selling autographs. I unknowingly, there was a huge investigation for selling fraudulent Michael Jordan autographs, and to keep my reputation afloat, I sent out refund letters, got investigated by the FBI, got in some trouble with the FBI, and was just on the balls of my ass. And I said to my dad, I had a vision at that point. I wanted to become an agent, but I don't want to be 8 years to go to law school. And We were fishing in Alaska. He dropped his fishing pole and said to me, "What do you mean law school? Don't you know life is about who you know, not what you know?"
That was probably
And
the
he's like,
biggest
"You work with
statement.
Joe Montana
Yeah.
for signings, and Magic, and Muhammad, and Joe, and Pamela Anderson, and Chevy." He goes, "Why don't you speak to Magic?" He built up quite a relationship with them and trust. He knows he made a mistake. He's made mistakes. Everybody has. And, Magic took me under his wing at that point and believed that Prince Marketing Group would work.
Again, we're talking about Magic Johnson, but what's the cocktail that you have that
I honestly, I care.
you care?
She hears me on the phone all the time. It was 30 minutes today on the phone with Charlie Sheen, and it's just me. I can't help it. It's there's not a call that doesn't end with any of my longtime clients, whether it's Carmen Electra, or Denise Richards, or Chevy, or Magic, or Jerry West. It's Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. Literally every call ends with "I love you." I mean, it's 99% of my calls now are literally about life. The business part is easy. The business part was easy even back then.
But
But
building up.
I care, I try to find out, like my dad told me, find out about their birthday, their special interests, their families, where they're from, things they like, things they don't like. I actually take an interest in every single one of their lives. And I think you don't need to be a 52-year-old Darren Prince to understand that. I talk about that so much in Mission Matters, that's everything. Like, don't just schedule or reach out to somebody for a breakfast or meet at Starbucks or a lunch because you want business. Get to know them on a personal level. That's everything. The business will come after. Everybody's so focused on the bottom line. That ain't going to work.
So
That's not
some of
gonna
these
work.
celebs that you deal with, when you first contacted them, there was no talk about, being a manager of them, helping them do gigs. It was more, hey, kindness. Hey, how are you? I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm Darren Prince. Like things like that.
So what I was able to do through the private autograph signings, I was able to bond with them and get time, because anybody could sit there and sign autographs. Anybody could put signings together. But I would bring my mom and dad. I would bring my grandmother. I would, my dad would always remind me, find out what Chevy likes. Chevy was a huge fan of Carnegie Deli, so we'd always make sure we get like the big pastrami sandwich whatever he wanted, because that was the game changer. And I didn't do it because I was trying to build a business relationship. I did it because I wanted them to see me in a different life, that I wasn't always this guy that was calling because it was about money. Because anybody can make the money back then and to this day.
That's great advice. So, get to know the person and then do something of shock value. Even if it's, I know you like Fiji, so I have Fiji for you. Just little shock value over and over. And that's one of the pieces of the cocktail that got you.
That's the key piece. And I think through that, we might have came together at some point because of business, but a real
Initially,
true
no.
loving friendship, family bond that I can call most of them before my own mother and sister and get sound advice. I mean, Charlie, I'm on the phone laughing our ass off today for 30 minutes.
He is one guy.
And that's just a beautiful thing. And they know I'm not somebody that's going on podcasts and speeches and talking. No, I take that stuff to the grave. They're human beings just like I am.
No, definitely.
And, we talk about life and we break each other's balls, and it's just a beautiful thing to have that. And in a world where most of them have been screwed over so damn much, even by people that they've known for decades, you hear horror stories about some celebrities and musicians, and it's horrible. And I'm always so diligent to just to be a voice and just to listen to them about life. And even if there's times I got something business, I'll just wait. It's not that important. Most of them have such financial security, it ain't even going to freaking matter. And it's a matter of me being patient and understanding that it's not the right time. It's not important. And the few times that I might have gone a little bit into business, I've learned that timing's everything.
You know when to and when not to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Now, when you were coming up, were you, knocking on doors, putting out pamphlets to grow it, or you were just showing up and making deals?
Well, there was no there's no internet.
I know. I almost said email. And I
so it was Rob Report, DuPont Registry. Wasted a ton of money for my ego to be in there. I thought that was like spending $10,000 a month. And was affluent.
But everybody got DuPont.
But I'll tell you, when Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan had his first game back for the Wizards. I thought I arrived. I sat center court at Madison Square Garden with Smokin Joe. Right next to me was David Falk, and who's Michael's longtime agent. And he looked at me, he goes, Darren Prince. I was like, how the hell is David Falk, the King super agent in OAM? Because I see your ads in the Rob Report all the time. How's Magic doing, man? Because you're Joe's guy, right? I was like, there it is.
That's awesome.
It cost me $250,000 in advertising to get recognized and props from David Falk.
I'll take it.
And then we met years later and bonded when Dennis and I went to Michael's Hall of Fame induction. He's a genius, man. I mean, everybody knows, Air Jordan, he was the mastermind behind it. I mean, you need Michael, obviously, the king of all kings, but for David Falk to come up with what they did, he's
unbelievable guy.
They were the ultimate dream team.
For guys like the Beckett thing, that's worth the $250.
Exactly.
Any day
exactly.
of the week. The guy,
but here I am now, arrived sitting center court with Smokin Joe, at the Garden.
You're like, hey,
and he's to my left, and it was pretty cool at the time.
Okay, so this is the new book here, right? Mission Matters.
Yep.
World's Leading Entrepreneurs. So this is volume 7, edition 8. What made you choose Adam Torres? What is it about him?
Adam's office came to maybe like it must have been about 6-7 months ago, and they said, look, we have more like of a tutorial educational type of book. It's not going to be nearly as much work as Aiming High. And I said, look, I've been teeter-tottering about doing another memoir. It was a lot of work. We have an edition where we're targeting 10 to 12 very successful entrepreneurs that could talk about not just their professional success, but struggles they've had personally along the way. And I go, that's perfect. I'm like, if I could stick with that, I'm like, I don't want to sit here and just give nuggets and tidbits and, all my little secrets about business. I want to be able to educate, young entrepreneurs, middle-aged entrepreneurs that are finally getting to where they need to be professionally, but to also understand, be very mindful of your mental health. Because when that money comes, money changes a lot of people.
Let's take a look. Okay, Justin Bieber, he got it so quick.
Yep.
10, 12 years old. He never had a childhood, Lilo Brancato, a good friend of mine, he's at the pool one day at 15. De Niro comes up to him. 2 weeks later, he's shooting Bronx Tale.
Yep.
That movie's done. He's doing Renaissance Man.
Yep.
This is just a kid, middle class, if that.
Yep.
All of a sudden, he's with Denzel, De Niro, boom, boom, boom. And he... it was just too much too quick. And then you got Britney Spears.
Yep.
She's another one,
Heard all the time. I was with Mike Tyson 5-6 years ago in Orlando at a corporate event in his hotel suite when he was done, and talked about knocking out Michael Spinks at 19, being king of the world, with $200 million in the bank. And he goes, who gave me a goddamn handbook on how to handle $200 million at 19 years old?
Whoa!
And Charlie and I were laughing today about his $1.9 million, highest paid TV actor in history, $1.9 million a week. And I was trying to compare it to my heyday in the mid 2000s, where one of our corporate accounts, we were making, $250,000, $300,000 a month in continuous royalties.
He's doing a half an hour, 20 minutes actually, getting 1.9.
Yeah.
He was great in it though.
Yeah,
I mean, nobody could take his spot, $2.5 million.
Yep. But I look at money differently now. If I didn't take care of all the people, she knows, like, I don't need a lot. Like, this is me. Like, I care more about, I got to do whatever I got to take care of my mom, my sister, and my staff. They're younger. They have goals and ambitions and dreams that they have. She's young. Like, everybody around me. Like, that's what the important thing is to me, where the business has to always be the main focus, so I can spread the love and pay it forward to everybody else. But I've always said it, if I lost the business and I lost the money, I wouldn't lose me. I already found me. I already had all this stuff. I know the stuff doesn't make you happy. What money allows you to do is it allows you to, like Dave Melcher, my boy, says, it allows you to shop. That makes people happy.
Spend more,
but it's still tentative happiness. But most importantly, money could buy happiness in the way that it allows other people to be happy. That's why it's still important to me. And I understand that's never going to change. There's certain people that, whether it's stuff, whether it's a nice house, nice apartment, nice cars, vacations, all that stuff, of course that's important. You want to be able to, enjoy the fruits of your labor. And then some people just need that time to check out. But like I said, if it wasn't for her and everybody that worked for me, I'd be cool if I had an apartment. I don't need much anymore in my life. I do it all for other people at this point. That's it.
In relation, it was brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water, it's Fiji
He
water.
always says, "Hey, Magic Johnson beat AIDS because he had
HIV.
money."
I always
HIV.
correct
Sorry,
people.
so, thank you.
Yep.
Because he has money. But do they realize when he got diagnosed with that?
Yeah.
There wasn't technology.
No.
You could have, like you were just talking about money.
Yep.
You could have $1 trillion.
Look at Steve Jobs.
Yeah. You could have $1 trillion. What are you going to do?
Yep.
There was nothing back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate when people say that, when they speak about
No, he was taking experimental cocktails just like anybody else.
Yeah.
And good, thank God. I mean, we spoke a few weeks ago for about a half hour. He just got back from Europe, and again, literally no business, bro, nothing. He's just, we talked about my new book, my journey, where God's taken me on this, and how he kind of embraced his, HIV diagnosis and what he's done to inspire, motivate, and change lives with it. Obviously on a much more massive scale than I'll ever do it, but it's still identifiable because we each kind of went through our own kind of hell and turned it around and embraced it and owned it to help other people. That's a beautiful thing.
You would have to say both of you are miracles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what year did he get diagnosed? What year did Magic get diagnosed?
91.
91.
Yeah.
November 7th, 1991.
And we're heading into 23.
Yep.
I mean, that's a miracle in itself. You're a miracle that you survived
Yep.
all the years of abusing and
Yep.
still being successful.
Yep.
Now, like this book here, it's basically answering everything I'm asking you
Yeah.
that you did is basically in this book.
That's
Go to
it.
the next slide.
Yep.
And then if we look at the back cover, it's right there.
It's all there. Yep.
You want to read a little bit of that, Rob?
It says, Darren Prince, international best-selling author of Aiming High, is a prominent sports and celebrity agent and global advocate for addiction/mental health recovery. Through his agency, Prince Marketing Group, he represents icons Magic Johnson, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Jerry West, Oscar De La Hoya, Roy Jones Jr., Chevy Chase, Charlie Sheen, wow, I'm getting long-winded, Denise Richards, Carmen Electra, and many others, as well as the late Smokin Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, and Evel Knievel. As a leading authority in this space, Prince, his insights have been featured in Wall Street Journal, New York Times, USA Today, CNN, Fox and Friends, Quiz Cuomo, Tucker Carlson, Jay Shetty on Purpose, and Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz,
You've
he's
gotta-
trying out there in PA, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's wearing on him a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Politics is dirty. It's hard.
Tough game.
Yeah.
Tough game. But if you want to know what Darren did throughout his entrepreneur and got to where he's at, all the questions I'm asking and digging out of him, they're all on paper, right?
They're all there and then some.
And then
Yeah.
some.
I just find it amazing because you were just saying, I hear that a lot from very successful people who have made it and have all this money. I think we've had a few guys in here that talk about that. Just that, I had all the money. I had the Ferraris. I had the cars. Like, it was great, but that doesn't define my life. Like, that's just amazing to hear that because I hear that a lot, and it's just like one of those things like,
Now,
thinking about it. It's like,
when you go into speaking,
Mhm.
and you go up there on that stage, how nervous are you? Not only nervous to come out, like when you first came out and you said, "Hey, look, I have a real bad problem," whether they knew, didn't know, thought, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How scared were you of losing your business?
I never
Or
really
being
had
judged.
any doubt. It was more like people internally in my office. My mom was embarrassed at one point when I was coming out. And then after I wrote Aiming High, and the first talk show I did was Chris Cuomo, and then Good Day New York, she got a call within 2 days from a girlfriend that she went to high school with and said that God bless your son because my son just got out of his third rehab. And he saw your son's interview, just bought his book, and I think he finally felt comfortable understanding that he's not the only one going through this, and he's going to start
Priceless.
going. I mean, now all of a sudden, she becomes my biggest cheerleader.
What's your favorite chapter in Aiming High? Mine changed.
Oof. I mean, God, there's so many. I think it's little nuggets that Krista McGinnis put in there that were just. Gets me emotional talking about it. I think, I love the intro with Ali Frazier, but I love near the end where she talks about, I didn't need to go to college because, I got a degree with honors at the Marty Prince University.
Very cool. This is my favorite one. I changed.
Yeah.
If you want to change attitudes, start with a change in behavior. In other words, begin to act the part, as well as you can, of the person you would rather be, the person you most want to become. Gradually, the old fart, I added to that, fearful person will fade away. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's my new favorite one.
Yep. It changes the more you keep rereading it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I know you're pressed for time, so we got like 5 minutes left. Yeah. So with the war on drugs, obviously this is an issue, and I would assume it has to run through your head, like, because they're not doing anything about it. And this isn't a political thing. It's just fact. So when you open up the border, as a businessman, if you're in there, you know the fentanyl's coming in through the border.
Yep.
You see the coyotes taking the illegal immigrants right to the end of Mexico. As a businessman, how would you fix that issue?
I mean, it's honestly because it's so out of control right now. I still don't understand how so much is getting through the border. We talked about this earlier. Like, how are they lacing weed and some of these pills with fentanyl? It's like, what are you doing? Why are you killing kids and different people? Like, if you have any half a brain as a businessman, you want to make sure it's not killing people, you know? I mean,
unless they just want to kill Americans.
It's just crazy to me. I mean, it's so scary because you and I wouldn't have been alive if we were around during this era, you know? You know, and the opiate crisis is just worse than ever. One thing I didn't mention earlier is, you know, I'm pretty excited that I'm part of the commercial advisory board now for this company, Bridge Therapeutics, and they've got a groundbreaking, I would say, let's call it Suboxone on steroid type of drug that's in the midst of FDA approval. That's going to completely change the game for people suffering with opioid withdrawal. Pain relief, and I've been looking for something because, like, when I speak, we get back to what you put before, like, there's no more nerves anymore. Now speaking is about, you know, just God comes into my life, and it's just an excitement that I know He's gonna say some words through my mouth that's gonna touch and save a life or two. I've always been asked, like, what happens when you get sober and you have real pain? What happens when, you know, it's harder to, you hear the expression, it's easy to get sober, it's hard to stay sober, you know. And, you know, I was one that was addicted to Suboxone for a year and a half. I couldn't get off of it.
Do you know of Subucade? It's the shot. No, Subucade.
What's that?
It's a shot. You take it.
Okay.
It lasts 45 days.
Okay.
They put it right in your stomach. It's like a bubble.
Okay.
You'll get a bubble. It lasts 45 days, and you can take as many opiates as you want.
You won't feel anything?
No.
It's a blocker.
Yeah, you're just wasting your money.
Yeah.
But you only need to take one shot a month.
Okay.
And it lasts 45 days. So when they say 45 days is actually longer, but, you know, that's how long it stays.
Yeah, no, what I'm a part of as their commercial advisor board, this is something, when I was on that Suboxone, it was the worst tasting crap in the world. It took 15, 20 minutes to hit into my system. This is something that literally hits the system in 5 to 10 seconds. And I'm just so excited there's something out there now as somebody that struggled and suffered in the hell of, you know, I know people have methadone and they go to methadone clinics.
That's the worst withdrawal. That's worse
for me
than
because I looked at myself as a high-end, high-class junkie. I was able to just get Suboxone from the doctor, but
it's just having a less of a withdrawal from the Suboxone, really. No. Technically, if you ever want to get that methadone, is nasty shit.
Nasty shit.
How do you get through though? To the hard part, I always think is, like, you know, I have a 15-year-old. He's in high school now. You know, I'm sure he'll be, you know, challenges and people trying to pass certain drugs and things like that. How do you get to the youth and say, you know, don't do this? Like, try to stay away from this stuff.
You know, I try to tell them my story. I'm just open and honest about it. And a lot of times it does come up in the Q&A. They're like, well, you know, you were high and look at the business that you built. I go, high, look at the business that I built. I got myself into financial problems. I had multiple overdoses. I wasn't paying attention to expenses, taxes, all these other things that happened. How come all of my friends that I grew up with in the industry built conglomerates and sold their businesses for 8-9 figures and you know, I never got it to that point because I was so busy whacked out of my mind. I had no exit strategy. You know, so believe me, you know, it might look good on paper, but there was a lot of huge opportunities I missed because I cared more about the drugs than I cared more about the business.
That's what happens, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I always say you have to have, like, an example, and I mean this in the nicest way. Someone like you that went through something. You know, it's like one thing for teacher to get up there and say, "Don't do drugs. This is your
No,
brain
you
on
have to
drugs." That
live it.
doesn't help.
Somebody
Correct.
told me I
Correct.
lived it, you know. And when I tell these kids, the biggest mistake I made was not speaking up. That if you feel different, if you have to put something in your system just to fit in, to be somebody or not, you're going down the exact same road that Darren Prince went down. And it's the only reason I'm so transparent right now. I don't care what it is. I mean, I'll freaking stand in front of Wembley Stadium and tell everybody, don't be impressed by this. You know, it's what I do one day at a time. I'm a fucking degenerate drug addict, you know, and I'll lie and bullshit to anyone to put something into my system. When I going back to that vape, I came out on that second day. I looked at my girl Mathilda that works for me. She runs my company in California. I said, "How do you look?" She goes, "Look fine. How you feeling?" I go, "I'm high as fuck right now." She goes, "Are you serious?" I go, "Yeah." I said, I'm a liar. I'm a con artist. I go, "You put something in my system, all bets are off." And that's coming from somebody that lives and breathes recovery. And that's experienced it from my hernia surgery at 2 years sober to what just happened, the vape. And I got today. That's all I got. That's all we got is today. You know, I don't care if somebody's got 30 years. I've got more out of meetings from somebody counting days sometimes than somebody with 30 years. We all got the moment right now. In life, whether you're in and out of recovery, you struggle with opiates or nothing. Everybody's got the moment of right now.
The thing that I think is so hard for people, and when I had an engineering firm, you know, I had a lot of contractors, and they would hurt their back, they would get on the oxys, and then, you know, I'm sure you've seen it, like the Oxy Express down here in Florida.
Yep.
You would go to the doctor, unlimited amount of oxys.
This is where it all started.
Right next door was the pharmacy that had the pills. No database. Then you go to the next.
Pay them cash. Truck drivers were driving in from Kentucky.
Right up the line. And then you would go back and back and back again. Pull up tab 7.
Yep.
And Florida was prescribing 10 times more than the entire country combined opiates. So you take all the other states and combine all the prescriptions for opiates, Florida alone was 10 times more than the rest of the country combined. Look right here, Darren. Doctors in Florida prescribe 10 times more oxycodone pills than every other state in the country combined. People come from all over Southeast, blah, 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 blah. But Pfizer, or whichever one it was in this case, they come out and they go for 5-10 years and they say it's not addictive. And they tell the doctors, just give a higher dose. It's not addictive. Here's the case studies. But their own people are doing the case studies. Then what happens, Darren? Pfizer goes into court. They just killed and had however many people addicted. You have your specialist, boom, boom. They fine them $100 billion. What do they care about $100 billion?
Exactly.
And they walk away and they make the arthritis one. And then that kills people. So, you know, for you, and you're trying to go around and speak to people and tell your story, and then you got big pharma. That's a battle.
Exactly.
You got in a sense, the government's counting your battle. Is weed legal or is it not? Maybe you should start looking if they're putting fentanyl.
I don't. I mean, the weed thing, I've always been a part of it. It was never my thing. I used to smoke probably a handful of times in my early 20s. I think, to me, to be honest, if you can get off the ADD medication, the Ritalin, the Adderall, if you can get off the anxiety meds, the antidepressants, the bipolar medications, the Ambien, which I used to sniff at night, and you can smoke weed. I don't remember the last time I heard of somebody freaking killing people driving high on weed.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And I know I've caused quite a bit of shit with moms when I speak to parents, but it's the truth.
They don't want to hear the truth.
I went back to my high school and spoke, and there was a lot of moms that got pissed off during the Q&A about it. They think it's reckless. I know it's more reckless giving your child Ritalin and Adderall at 14, 15 years old. Because you're giving them a friggin', you're giving them speed is what you're doing. Okay?
Just
and if there's, something else they can do during those developmental years instead of giving them something that's going to get them jacked up and rewiring their entire being, this is a better option.
And I'm not trying to be a promoter, but at least it's from a plant.
Exactly.
Right? It's not some man-made, who knows, cartel, whatever, it may be. And when I saw that, I mean, Trump put in those, he made a hell of a business move, too. He put in the card readers. Do you know about that move? So what a fucking move, right? So he did put in the database, but he made every pharmacy buy the exact same ID reader. So throughout the country, hey, you can't hate on him. You can't hate on him. He cleaned it up, put the data in, and he made a hell of a deal with the biggest bidder. Now it's a businessman, right? You nail two birds with one stone. I know people probably may not like that, but But what else was he had to do it, and he's a businessman. So what the hell do you expect?
That's it.
You know.
Yep.
So I know you got to get going. What do you have up? What do you got to run to now this time?
We're
going
going
to Jamaica?
dinner, and then I got to fly back Thursday. I've got like I said, a busy weekend. I got some stuff with Charlie Sheen, Jerry West, Chevy, and then we have Hulk next week. I'm gonna probably meet up with my boy Joe, who owns Banyan Treatment Center. You know, I do have my own toll-free call number for anybody struggling, by the way, which is 888-6-DARREN, DARREN. We try to scholarship people. I know I got my foundation. I'm hoping you're coming to my event on October 7th at Trump Durrell.
Of course.
You know, all the proceeds go to get people in treatment, and you know, that's what makes me happy. That's it. That's what makes me me. That's what gave me, you know, the self-esteem that I was looking for my whole life by doing esteemable acts as often as possible.
Well, and you've done it. You've done it all.
No.
But you didn't answer one last question.
Yeah.
Or maybe two. Do you think those things are drones or UFOs? And if they're drones, do you think that there are military drones, or do you think they're UFOs?
I'm going to go with the UFOs.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why do you think they're UFOs?
I don't know. I just I believe in that. I think, you know, I've have my own situations where, first off, we all believe in spiritual awakenings. There's been some crazy effed up stuff that's happened to us, and I truly believe that it's out there. What's the other one? Sasquatch. Like you see all these. I've always believed in that stuff.
To me, deja vu says it all.
Yep.
You know, because how could you possibly be somewhere that you're not?
Yep. Exactly.
How could you?
Yep.
But you know you're there. You know the smell.
Yep.
You even know where the pizza shop is.
Exactly.
But you never were there.
You were never there. Yep.
Something's going on.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. I love that.
So what can we see from Prince Marketing Group, though? What, are you doing anything more with that, or just keep
we have
where it's
we have a
at?
big campaign with Raising Cane's Chicken that's launching mid-November with Chevy Chase. He's going to be in a big commercial
That's so
spot
cool. You're
that's awesome.
expanding.
for them, which is all.
That's gonna be
it's
fun.
got,
That's cool.
It's got a really cool theme. You know, I'm
What's
not
he
going to
doing?
spoil it, but it's
Give me a little bit. What's he doing?
he's basically in a commercial for Raising Cane's Chicken.
Great.
So people, you know,
That's so great.
hopefully by the time you air this, it doesn't crisscross, but people will be looking forward to it. He still has such a fan base; it's amazing.
He will forever.
Yeah.
You know, Dominique Wilkins, we have a big partnership being announced with a pretty well-known restaurant chain. Carmen Electra's got the same opportunity. That's probably going to be announced in early November. I can't really say much more about it, but at least you heard me tease it here first. And there's just always great stuff. You know, can't complain on
You
the
think
business.
Tyson will fight anybody again? I hope he does. I seen him hit that bag at 85, 90 pounds after 10 rounds of
He's a
sparring.
I know.
badass dude, man.
Did you watch the Canelo fight?
It was terrible.
Terrible fight. I didn't know his hand was.
We went to the Fury Wilder fight. We went to the last October, and I was like, I really thought this was going to be somewhat of the same. And before we booked this trip, because we flew out on Sunday, I was actually thinking at one point, no, maybe we stop in Vegas. I'm so glad. What a snooze fest. I don't understand.
Well, his
Triple G,
hand
man.
was.
He didn't even want to be there.
No, and
He didn't want to be there.
He didn't come alive until the 5th round.
Yeah, and she got spoiled. Her first major championship fight was Fury Wilder 3.
Oh,
That's a good one.
No,
Yeah, that's a
you
good
ain't getting better than that.
Yeah,
she
be
was a
glad he
little
didn't go to
sad.
this
She was
one.
cheering for Wilder, but I said you're not going to get better than that. And I've been to some of the greatest championship fights. Oscar De La Hoya is a client. Like I've been to all his, and went to so many Tyson fights. Went to both Holyfield Tyson fights. I was there for the bite fight, sitting ringside.
Yeah. We had Bobby
that Fury Wilder 3
good.
fight was pretty incredible.
Now, let me ask you this: if Tyson trained like he was,
Yeah.
you know, when he was going 10 rounds sparring and then going to the pound bag, I watched the whole thing, and he hit it.
Yeah.
Not one time, multiple times at 85, 90 pounds after sparring 10 rounds. And he's not just playing around for 10 rounds in
Yep.
the sparring, I highly doubt.
Yeah.
Do you think he could take Canelo? I think he could.
Hey, look, man, it just takes one shot.
All it is
You
one.
know, it just takes one shot. I mean, yes, speed is one thing, but when you got that type of power and you could still move like him.
The only chance
And look,
I
I'm
think
a big fan of the Paul brothers. I love what they're doing, but I still think it's a bad move
he
for
crazy?
Jake to get in the ring with Mike.
crazy?
He
They'll
doesn't,
make a lot of
he
money,
doesn't
though.
understand. You take all it takes is one shot.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of money,
low.
low.
You know,
He's crazy.
But I love what those guys are doing.
Yeah, it's great what
my boy
they're
Bear's
doing.
very close with them. I spoke to them on the phone a couple of years ago. They wanted to do some collaborations, but more power to them, man. They're inspiring a lot of people, and they have that don't give a shit attitude, and they're making a ton of money. money, and I think they're bringing a huge following that was never normally there into a sport that needs it. So
if he wants his brain to work, I won't fight Tyson.
Yeah.
Canelo's a little bit different.
He's
He might
got
put
to
a
keep
wear him
things
out.
strategic. I think Anderson Silva is a good one that Jake has coming up because he's still one of the greatest UFC champions of all time. He's been a proven boxer, so that'll be interesting. But they're smart. Man.
There's some good coming up.
Yeah.
How much would it cost you to fight Tyson? How much would you want? How much? How much? $1 billion? $500 million.
It'd probably have to be $5 million. But I would have to make it. I would have to make it through a round. That's the other problem.
Run around, just run
How the
around.
heck do I train?
Run around
to last around.
Get the fuck out.
You know.
Just run. I don't know. Just run, hit the ropes. I don't know. Slip
Then it ain't worth paying me $5 million unless I can at least. Throw some hands for a little bit, right?
Well, yeah, you throw some hands and then he's going to throw a hand and you're going to go down. So how much to take a right in a real ring, a real fight? How much would it take for you?
He's going to crack my veneers. I'm going to need veneers, so that's going to be another $30,000, right?
Yeah, they're 34. I just had to get one fixed there. I would say they're probably going to be
if it's
all
light out. I mean, if it's lights out, I got to believe you and I are down for a couple million, right?
I want at least
Wake up,
20 just in case of the brain damage.
As long as there's no brain damage.
Yeah, I mean, one from him, me and you, we're in trouble.
My boy Vo, who's close with Mike, always says, like, man, if Mike and he used to be an MMA fighter, he goes, man, I'd be honored if Mike just caught me with the right and lit me up and boom, put me to sleep just to say the champ caught me with one.
If I could remember it and I could still function, yeah, maybe,
I know we're going to the last question. I think we asked you this the last time, maybe we didn't. The GOAT in the NFL. Who is the GOAT?
Before I say that, did you see the pass last week by Brady? They compared 2006 to 2022, and it was the same pass.
I just want to see his answer.
That dummy missed that catch. He should have caught it.
I just want to see his answer.
I'm biased because Joe Montana's been my guy. I've worked with him on and off for 25 years.
Yes.
I think you look at 4 Super Bowls, 11 touchdowns, 0 interception.
Thank you.
I'm your guy. Remember?
Where Brady still needed, Vinatieri a few years to win it.
Lie to me. I'm your guy. AJ. You just signed with him.
Who
was it who picked it up? Russell Wilson in the end zone?
Yep. Malcolm Butler.
Yeah, so... But again, I mean, you go back and forth. His numbers are ridiculous. He's defying logic with his age, but I'm always a Joe guy.
Love it. That's all I need to hear.
Who wins this year? Who wins the Super Bowl?
I'm a diehard Charger fan, so Justin Herbert has to get ready because they got all the talent. They got all the talent
to
win
line.
it.
My birds, baby. Go Birds.
So
you keep drinking.
And then her mother's a huge Buffalo Bills fan.
They look good.
I think
they look good.
I think they're going to be scary dangerous.
They look good. They got a hell of a defense.
I definitely don't want the Chargers going there for the AFC Championship
not that
game
cold weather.
in the winter in Buffalo because we're not going to have a shot. So we got to win the division this year. Justin Herbert has to get back on track.
Buffalo has a defense.
They look good.
Buffalo should have ran it last year. They had every opportunity to watch that game. I knew with 13 seconds left, you can't count Mahomes out. Even on the touchback, and he 2 passes, boom, found Kelce. And
I think if Gronk comes back, he likes to do his midseason thing.
I know.
I think then they'll win, and then I think Brady will retire because I don't think his wife's too happy that he came back.
Tampa Bay Buffalo could be pretty interesting.
But Tampa's got a lot of hurt people.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I
think Buffalo lost a couple last night. Her mom is saying, right? Any starters, or did you watch it?
One guy hurt his neck real bad last night. I can't remember, but he got carted off. He snapped his neck back real bad.
And Dallas is done.
Yeah. Terrible.
They're talking about going after Ben Roethlisberger, Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I mean, I think they're done.
They're done.
Broken thumb, huh?
All right, well, I made it back.
You made it back, and I appreciate it.
See you on October 7th at my event.
Absolutely. I'll be there. Thank you, Darren, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.